The FDA says the Zepbound shortage is over. Here's what that means for compounding pharmacies and patients who relied on cheaper off brand versions. Plus, how this shortage in general just reveals a very sad state of type 2 diabetes treatment, and why it reinforces that one should have an exit strategy when going on these medications. All that and more on the next episode. Hey, welcome to the Diabetes Remission Roadmap podcast with the two renegade pharmacists, Brian Bisher and Cory Jenks. You are listening to this because you are a person with type 2 diabetes who is committed and driven to breaking free from this diagnosis and creating a real, meaningful change in your health and life. In these episodes, we're here to help you ditch the scripts with doses of unconventional wisdom on topics such as fitness, nutrition, medication, mindset, and more. So without any further delay, let's dive right in.
Brian, it's so nice to see you again. We are getting so much great feedback from this podcast. The downloads are happening. The people are reaching out to us. There is a hunger for diabetes remission in the world, and I feel like we're feeding the people.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, Cory. And I think there's like a little bit of a pun there too. Hunger, and we're going to talk about some GLP-1s today. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, but first, like, speaking of hunger, my wife and I recently celebrated 11 years of marriage.
Okay.
So, congratulations,
Congratulations.
Corey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations. Yeah, I was
I
waiting. I
gave
was
you
just
a
going to make sure you weren't going to say anything else, and I don't want to interrupt you.
no, I specifically like gave a pause so you could give me a congrats. Thank you, Brian. I know it's implied,
Yeah.
but to celebrate, I married a wonderful woman, and we like to stuff our face with as much meat as possible. So we went to a Brazilian steakhouse to celebrate, and one of our sort of traditions that we have with our friends is to unknowingly have them celebrate our anniversary with us. 5 years ago, we had met some new neighbors, and we have kids. You have kids. Anyone out there with kids understands it's really hard to coordinate babysitters and life and all of that. And so it just so happened that our friends came over on our anniversary, and we were just getting to know. They were new friends, so we're just kind of chatting our
Mhm.
live history, how we met, and then we got to talk about our wedding. And they're like, "Oh, when's your anniversary?" And we're like, "Today." And like, "Oh, happy anniversary." And like for us, like we don't do anniversary gifts either. Like our biggest cup filler is spending time with the people that we love. We have amazing friends in our life. And so yesterday was our anniversary. And so we just happened to coordinate a night out with a couple of friends. And we just didn't like we're good friends with them, but we met them after we were married, so they really don't know our anniversary. And we just didn't tell them it was our anniversary. And the people at the steakhouse were like, "Are you celebrating anything today?" And we're like, "We got there early." We're like, "We are." They're like, "Oh, would you like the free cake?" I'm like, I don't want to make a big deal out of this celebration because I don't want them to know it's our anniversary." And they were confused. I was just like, "Just pretend I'd never had this conversation." They're like, "Enjoy your meal." And we did.
That is a great story, Cory. I think I get that the need to combine certain things, especially when the opportunities are so limited to go out with friends. And yeah, it just so happens it's your anniversary. And that was the best gift to you guys, right? Time with your friends.
Yeah, and they have a young kid and a baby, so it's hard for them to get out, and we haven't seen them a ton, and so it was just a special night, and so that was a highlight, and I will say, so as we sit here the morning after, I'm still pretty full,
Oh, really?
and this is a diabetes podcast, and you mentioned GLP-1 agonists, which if you have not been living under a rock for the last couple of years, you've probably heard of Ozempic or Wegovy or Mounjaro or Trulicity. And if you're old school like me, you've heard of Victoza. These are all medicines in the GLP-1 class. And they are hot, hot, hot because not only do they help manage blood sugars, they also have been shown to help people lose some weight, don't they, Brian?
Oh yeah, for sure. They have a great weight loss effect, and surprised I didn't realize that when they were making them, honestly. It's like, well, they shut down your appetite. So when you lose
Yeah.
weight,
Yeah, and we're not going to go deep into the mechanism of how they work today, but essentially they slow down how fast food moves through your gut. Food sits in your stomach longer. You're not as hungry. You don't eat as much. Blood sugar goes down. You lose weight. What could go wrong, Brian? They're miracle drugs. There's probably zero downsides, right?
absolutely zero downsides. No, I mean, there's
Yeah.
been no shortages of any kind. There's
Mm.
been no reported weird side effects of any kind, right? Or am I
And
trying to
oh
be
wait,
sarcastic here?
I think you are. I mean, I'm the comedian, but you're doing a good job of being sarcastic. No, like they're most common are GI related. So nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, which makes me think that over Christmas, I had a stomach bug, but I'm pretty sure someone just spiked my food with Ozempic. And that's and I didn't eat much. And I get it. Like I get why people would want to use these medicines to lose weight, but I also it was miserable. Like it was Christmas dinner, and I was like, I don't want to eat this giant prime rib that my mom made or the big old chocolate cake that she makes once a year because I was nauseous for like 3 straight days. So, and when I talk to patients about using them, that's one of the things they talk about is the nausea, but they're so desperate to lose weight and use them for their blood sugar that they will put up with it. So the worst thing I see is when someone will prescribe an anti-nausea med to someone who's on these meds. I'm like, you're treating a side effect of a med that's the mechanism of the med. But you mentioned downsides and you mentioned shortages, which brings me to what I wanted to talk about today. So the title of this episode is a compounding problem. And it's a pun, Brian.
Mm.
It's a double meaning
It's like a
because
snowball, like a
um,
snow,
sure. Also
like a
pharmacy
snow.
compounding, because
Okay.
there have been shortages of the two biggies are semaglutide, which is the main ingredient in Ozempic and Wegovy, and tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro and Zepbound. And for those nitpicky pharmacologists out there, yes, tirzepatide is technically both a GLP-1 and a GIP. Pardon me for not getting into the nerdy weeds there, but for all intents and purposes, there's been a shortage of them because they're super popular for everyone who's using them to lower blood sugar and a lot of people using them to trying to lose weight. And so with a shortage, there's been a huge void that has been filled by compounding pharmacies. So a compounding pharmacy being one that the product is not an FDA approved pen. They're coming in vials and syringes, and you're injecting them and you're paying cash because the insurance won't cover them. And oftentimes these medicines are much more affordable as a compounded product than as the branded product, Wegovy, Zepbound, etc. So for patients whose insurance won't cover it for weight loss, the compounded versions have been very helpful. And if you've been on Instagram or Facebook at all, you've seen Hims, Hers, and every other. I mean, Weight Watchers is doing it. Like everyone, I think like Circle K is getting in on like the semaglutide. Like everyone, semaglutide compounds are the new hard seltzers. They're everywhere. Everyone's making them.
Probably was spiked in your food, just
Yeah,
how easy it is to get it. I want to interject for a second because I'm curious myself, and I'm sure the audience is curious. Like, how isn't usually like a drug that's FDA approved, it's not able to be compounded on a shortage like this, like right? Like this is not happening to other brand name drugs. So why was it allowed for these types of medications?
that's a question I don't have the answer for. Probably because it's so freaking popular, and the compounding pharmacies are like, we can make a lot of money doing this. And I mean, admittedly, there has been a shortage. I know that for my patients that are using it, and I know with the remission roadmap, getting people off drugs. Full disclosure, like I use these medicines, so I'm not. But by the end of this, you're going to think I'm totally anti-medicine, and it's not true. They're good tools and the right people, but there's been big shortages of all these different medicines. So it's legit. But I wanted to highlight an article that is going to be linked in the show notes. It was from CNBC, and it says FDA says the Zepbound shortage is over. Here's what that means for compounding pharmacies patients who've used off-brand versions. The long and short of it means that for people getting tirzepatide compounded, you're not going to be able to do it anymore. Until the compounding, as long as the legal battle with the compounding pharmacies sue. They're going to ensue and they're going to sue for as long as they can to continue to do this, which you can argue patient access versus appropriate FDA approved medicines. But what Brian and I want to highlight are some of the quotes from the article they quoted some patients from it. And this is it's a challenging dichotomy that Brian and I have because we have significant compassion for people who've had struggles with diabetes, weight loss, etc. It's a hard environment to lose weight and control your blood sugars, right? We live in a obesogenic environment. That's a true thing, Brian, right?
It is definitely a true thing.
And there are some people for whom these medicines have been a miracle drug, right?
Really, yes, it helps
Yeah,
them control that environment.
right. But do we want to be on a medicine for life? And so some of the quotes that I got from this article, I just wanted to bring up. So one of the patients in the article is quoted saying, "If compounded semaglutide goes away as well, in addition to tirzepatide, then I will be screwed."
Hmm.
She launched an online petition demanding the FDA support access to compounded GLP-1s, and it's gained more than 15,000 signatures. So if this goes away, I will be screwed. The thing that bothers us about these medicines is that they've removed the personal agency and ownership of one's health from a person. Um, when I talk to patients about starting these meds, I talk about how they're a tool. And Brian and I have lots of tools for helping people get off these medicines. But it's this mindset of like, I rely on this outside thing to achieve my
Yeah,
goal. And that pisses me off, that we have conditioned people to think that they need this. When there's also, Brian, have you met people who've not used GLP-1s and improved their sugar and weight?
absolutely. And there are people out there that do not want to use those types of medications because they just the idea of injecting anything foreign into their body just appalls them. They don't want to do it. They're trying to do anything else they can to avoid that.
Right. So I have another quote that shows the dichotomy of how we feel. So another person was quoted as saying, "This medication has literally changed my life, and it's probably going to benefit me to be on a maintenance dose for life."
Hmm.
Big Pharma could not have come up with a better quote to sell their product than this person. Right. So again, we will recognize I had patients who had these drugs have been life changing. And actually, at dinner last night, one of our friends were like, they know I'm a pharmacist, and they're like, "So tell us about those GLP-1s." And they're in the health world too, just not the medication world. So yes, they can be life changing, but I'll probably have to be on a maintenance dose for life.
The
Let me tell
lifelong
you something.
customer.
Your lifelong customer, right? Whether it's a compounding pharmacy or the big or little pharma, are going to be making money the rest of their life. And again, what happens when the shortage ends? What happens when the compounding pharmacy shuts down? What are you going to do? What's the plan, right? And this is what Brian and I rail about is it's easy to start a medicine, whether it's a blood pressure, blood sugar medicine, cholesterol med, you name it. Anyone can start a med. And these cascades of medicine starting just happen. The doctor writes it, but there's no plan or hope or any way of thinking of getting off these freaking drugs.
Yeah. And I tell people when they start these, I'm like, you need an exit strategy. There needs to be an exit ramp because this is a tool. It's going to help you do do the habits that are necessary to also get the same effects, right? And
Mhm.
yes, it's going to compound your body's ability to get insulin out and to slow down your the food emptying into your stomach. So there's going to be physical effects, but there's also mental effects that it knows and shuts down. We also know that these drugs can shut down some addictive behaviors. So there's
Yeah.
benefits
Oh,
there. And
I've had lots of patients who've said that they have food. First off, food addiction is real, and there's a lot of dietitians here. I'm going to call you out that don't believe food addiction is real, and that's crap. Food addiction is freaking totally real. Try to talk to people who, this idea of just moderate your cookie intake. Yeah, well, if you eat one, they're going to eat 7 bags of them. So screw that stupid advice. And they've said that it shuts that little voice off in their head that thinks about food all the time. So I'm sympathetic to those people. However, if you go to a Brazilian steakhouse and you eat two of everything like I did last night, you are going to be full. You are not going to have room for the other crap. And so learning how to eat the appropriate foods, spoiler alert, protein first, is going to provide a similar effect. What I tell patients is if like here's our advice in like one sentence, protein and fiber. You're going to
yep,
get a similar satiety effect. And you need to eat foods that will give you satiety versus relying on something that will artificially provide it long term. And again, everyone's experience is different. If you have had success with this, I'm grateful that you have, but it's the mindset approach that I have an issue with. And they talk about how there's like this period that's no longer allowed, and they're going to have like a 3 month like period that people can still get it before it's totally off. And the the quote from here is this is from a pharmacy, a guy from the trade group Alliance for Pharmacy Compounding, which is they have a vested interest in compounding these meds. But he said those off-ramp periods are appreciated because it gives patients time to switch to brand name tirzepatide or semaglutide. And my thought is off-ramp period should be how about switch to nothing and provide the tools to give your body the ability to not need these meds. Um, and gosh, like there's no thought. It just, I'm out of words because it makes me so infuriated that we just started med with no plan to stop it. We're just going to be on this medicine for life. And a lot of doctors, physicians in the world of obesity, they see obesity as a chronic disease that you have to treat lifelong. They say like, well, like blood pressure. I'm like, well, you don't always have to take blood pressure meds your whole life if you change change your life too. There's this false assumption going on, and your doctors are not equipped in their 7-minute visits to give patients the tools to get off these medicines. And it's a tragedy, it's a shame, and it reduces people's agency. And the last thing I'm going to mention from this article is how it says how other patients may turn to an underground community in Reddit called the gray market. People directly purchase powdered tirzepatide or
Oh boy.
semaglutide peptides for as little as $50 per month from certain vendors, including Chinese manufacturers, and mix that with sterile water at home, creating a solution they can inject under their skin. The- This is how desperate people are. I'm going to order a weird powder from China and inject it into my body. People think this is like the medicine is this is a sustainable plan for life. No, it's not. Like there's every path is hard. You can inject mystery peptides from China, or you can get the freaking tools to not need this. And yes, again, a lot of patients I talk to say, I want to use this as a tool to get started as I work on my habits. And I say, great. And then we go through an extensive discussion of the diet and the exercise and behavioral things that you need to do to get off this medicine. And I appreciate that. But there's so many patients that come to me with a, if I don't have this, I'm screwed mentality that I don't know if I can help them. And there's going to be some people that take this for life. Like there are some people that don't care. I have family members that they're going to eat what they want, they're going to take their insulin, and that's fine. I don't even waste my breath. But patients aren't given the option to stop these. So I just wanted to highlight this article. Like this compounding, it's a literally a pharmacy compounding problem, but it's a compounding problem in society that we are breeding dependence on medicines without any plan or thought or ability to give patients to get off them.
Yeah. And Corey, I want to thank you because for taking the reins on this, something you are obviously so passionate about. I have just been sitting here captivated by what you're saying, and I can just see just how fired up you are about this. And for me, you talk about the people that are like, I need this. Like, without this, I'm screwed. That's the kind of stuff I hear that, and it just breaks my heart. Yes, it pisses me off that pharmaceutical companies have gotten people hooked on this, sold them this mentality, show them commercials where life is glamorous and everything on these medications. And to hear people say like they just feel screwed without that, that breaks my heart because I want nothing more than to empower every single person to take ownership and agency of their own health. Now, realistically, is that possible? No, I know we can only help people that are like buying into that themselves, that believe that they are worth it, that they are worth doing the hard work to make it happen for them to get off medications. That's always the thing I'm looking for when I'm working with people. Like, hey, do you believe you are worth this, worth the work? Because it is not gonna be easy. And there are obviously people that come to me and they're like, yeah, I just want a pill. I don't care, whatever the easiest path is, because uh, you know, things are just too hard, right? They don't want to even try. And
Yeah.
that's
Great.
those are the lifelong customers.
Yeah, well, in our regular pharmacy practices, yeah, I'm here to help you find the path that you want to do. And I prescribe GLP-1s. I've had people use compounding pharmacies. So you can call me a hypocrite for like, oh, Corey, well, you use them too. Like, yeah, for the appropriate patient, it's the tool and I give the education. And for the some patients that I could give an example of a patient that I saw 3 months ago, A1C 14 on no meds. The book would have said to start like insulin, you could start a GLP-1. He'd been on metformin before, gave him nothing but metformin and an extensive diet talk, and his A1C was under 7%. No med drops in
Mm.
A1C 7%, other than high doses of insulin. No meds do that. That was him. He did that. And he's empowered, he's excited, and he was pissed when he saw that because he didn't want to be on meds. And the doctors were like, well, you got to take insulin. And well, I take an unconventional approach because we didn't all of a sudden 40 years ago start getting type 2 diabetes and obesity because we had an Ozempic uh, deficiency,
Shortage.
right? They, anyways, I think we've beaten this topic to death. We'll include the article from CNBC, and of course it's on CNBC because this is, I mean, the GLP-1s. There's like I was reading a great book called The Magic Pill that's talks. It's all about the GLP-1s and the history, and I'm like a third of the way through it, but there's like 70 of these things in development. Like companies are gonna try to make money off this, and you have to decide: do you want to be a patient and a money giver for life for this, or do you want to get off it, give the middle finger to Big Pharma, and put yourself first? And I don't judge either way. Pick your path. And if you're in my clinic, you have the choice. And if you want to work with us individually to get off them, well, we're here and you can tell that we're going to have your back because we're tired of this.
Absolutely.
So,
And just to wrap
before,
up, what should
yeah.
someone do who is in this, if someone listening to this is like being directly impacted by this shortage or this
Mhm.
now potential discontinuation of compounded GLP-1s, what should they do?
Don't buy it from China. The worst thing you could do is harm yourself more. And when you don't know what powder you're injecting, you can't verify that. So the worst thing you could do is dig yourself into a deeper hole. Um, if you need or want guidance, I know that Brian and I and myself, we provide that on an individual basis. If you want to start changing your lifestyle, if you want to take ownership, we're going to talk in our next episode about the steps or the things that people who want to get off meds do, but finding a guide. And there's lots of ways to do it. There's lots of diet plans that'll work, but you're going to have to move your body, and odds are you're going to have to change how you're eating. And at the end of this episode, there's not enough time to give you the tactical details. But I think big picture, don't harm yourself worse by going to some mystery powder. Um, get pissed off at Big Pharma for causing this dependence, and find a guide. It could be your doctor. Maybe you have a great doctor that'll help you. Like I don't want to characterize. There's a lot of great providers that will help you, but our system isn't set up for that. Find a guide though.
Yeah,
Find a guide that you can trust, and they'll help you get to the finish line. Because it's a long, hard battle. If you're hearing this and you've been on medicines, you know it's a long, hard battle. But you need someone that's going to be there to actually have your back and not just write a prescription pad and get you out of their office.
I agree. And I'll add on to that, probably don't go cold turkey on these because just knowing the impact that the body can get used to certain levels of hormones and you might have a rebound effect there. So we'll end the episode there, Corey. Thank you so much for sharing something you are just so passionate about, I can tell. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening. Now go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode, and you can join us on the journey and roadmap to remission.